Good morning. Welcome to Sunday Spiritual Suggestions. My name is Rev JoAnn. It's wonderful to see you here on this Sunday morning. And we are here, Gathering of Light. We're sharing our video with all of you. Lashana Tova. It is Rosh Hashanah. So this morning, I'd like to begin with the Jewish call to prayer. For those of you who did not know, there is a Jewish call to prayer. It's the Barku, but this one we're going to do the Barku from a Dances of Universal Peace perspective, mixing in a little bit of our multi-faith tradition here at Gathering of Light. Because of the calling into prayer, I'd like to bring in the Shekinah. The Shekinah is the feminine aspect of the divine. It is said from a Kabbalistic perspective that in the garden, when God wanted to throw out Adam and Eve, the Shekinah, the mother of us all, said, "You're not throwing out my kids." And God said, "Yes, I am." And then the Shekinah says, "Well, if they go, I go." And God says, "Okay." So she came. She came with us. She is here with us. Right, Jerry? Right, Marie? The Shekinah, that beautiful grace, that beautiful feminine aspect of divinity, that nurturing spirit that says, "I will hold you, I will be with you no matter what." So we will begin with the Barku, B-A-R-C-H-U, and we are going to just do it as an invocation to be with us. And the words are Barku, dear one, Shekinah, holy name. When I call on the light of my soul, I come home. And that's something that we're doing this morning. Our biggest suggestion for us today is to come home. Come home to our souls. Come home and be present with our souls, and to understand that that is the most important thing that we can all do and be as human beings. Is we need to be one with our soul. Our soul, that energy, that force that is forever, that if we want to stay with the eternal one, all of us in one soul for all of us to come home to be a part of. So we say, and I'm going to do some kind of little movements in here. They're a mixture of different kinds of movements for people, but I wanted to really emphasize that invocation. I really want to emphasize that calling in of the Shekinah, of that feminine energy, and to bring us to a real deep prayer honoring of that Holy One and coming home back to the one, Echad, right? Okay. So we will go. Barku, dear one, Shekinah, holy name. When I call on the light of my soul, I come home. Barku, dear one, Shekinah, holy name. When I call on the light of my soul, I come home. One more time. Barku, dear one, Shekinah, holy name. When I call on the light of my soul, I come home. us just take a moment now to come home, to just wrap your arms around your heart, around your throat, around your mind, around your beingness, and just hold your body here. Say, I come home. In this moment, I come home. Coming home. Coming home into the oneness. That's what we're looking for today. A way that we can all come together and coming back into a way of coming home to the one, right? Back to the one. We sing a song, La ilaha illallah, there is no God but God. Shema Israel, Adonai, Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Everything, it's all about coming back to the one, coming back to the one. And I heard a rabbi this week, and it was very interesting, and I didn't even know about this. It was about that, Abraham, because we know about the Abrahamic traditions, right? So Abraham was the father of Ishmael, and he was the father of the Hebrew nation, out of which came Christianity. And then he's also with his child from Hagar, right? That he was also the father of the Islamic tradition, right? So everything, we should come back to the one, but those are the Abrahamic traditions. So you have Judaism, you have Christianity, and you have Islam. But Abraham had more children, and his children then went off, they say they went off to the east, right? And one of the children was called Veda, like the Vedas in Hinduism. If you look at the Jewish calendar, right, it's going back over 5,000 years. It's a lunar calendar. It's a different calendar. And for those of you who don't know, and before I go on with that side of the story, do a little side note. For those of you that don't know, when you're following a lunar calendar, as opposed to the Gregorian calendar, which is on a solar calendar, right? That you have a time, you have extra days. We have extra days in there. And so the extra days to kind of fit them all and mold them all together come together every 3 years. So we're in this time of the 3 years, and these times, I think it's till October 16th, where we have this time frame where everything is amplified. And this is the time frame, they say, that to take your spiritual work and to up your game with your spirituality during this time, to have it amplified and pronounced and really chiming, there they go, they're chiming out for us, to really amplify those spiritual intentions during this time. So we take this time, we take the idea of Rosh Hashanah, which is the new beginning, which is going over and redoing it all and really starting from the beginning again, and let's go, okay, let's start again, because we want to be true spiritual warriors for light, for goodness, and for healing of our planet, right? That we want to call on that holy name. We want to be that voice of the Shekinah, right? That goddess that is here for us, that is all the spiritual women, powerful women that have come before us, the Shekinah, because I'm thinking of the women's energy now and the feminine power. And we think about all of that feminine power that was there, and men who held that femininity as their power. And we calling on that, and we want that to be more prevalent in the world. Well, we got to do what the Shekinah did in the beginning story. It says, I'm going to be with them. I'm going to walk the walk with them. So we need to walk with each other into this energy, into this spirituality, into this all coming together. And so I'm going to bring it in again and talk to us more on the ways that we can bring this all together and being part of that with the 4 T's of Rosh Hashanah, right? The 4 T's of Rosh Hashanah from a Jewish perspective, right? And the first one that I want to talk to you about is Tishlek. And that is, Tishlek is to pray, right? So that's what we just did. We did the Baruch. We did the prayer. The prayer now during this time is going to be amplified. So for those of you who've been praying a lot lately and finding that your prayers have not really hit the mark and they're just really not moving you or feeling like it's changing anything, well then amp them up and know that they are being amplified by all the celestial beings, by this energy, by the time frame that we are in. So you can hold on to that and to then be renewed in your addressing your prayers. Be renewed and bringing that in with Tishlek, right? To bring it in with more of a renewed sense of that this will work. Now, the way that we come to our prayers with more clarity, with more openness, is to clean out, okay? Is to clean out or to cast off. To cast off. Does anybody know, everybody out there, you know about the casting off that goes on for this wonderful holiday of Rosh Hashanah? To be taking the bread down to the waters. And I love that, right? That the tradition was we're doing it in a very earth-friendly way. You take your healthy bread, no bread with all preservatives in it, and take your healthy bread down to the water, take pieces of the bread, and then throw them in. We're gonna throw them into the water and take that bread and just throw that in, and that's going to bring us to Tishlek, and that is going to be to cast off. We're gonna cast off all of the things. So think about yourself, how you were this past year. Where were you last September? What was life like for you? Do you remember? And I want you to take a moment now and ask yourself, how have I grown? And if you feel like you haven't grown at all, consider that. And what are the consequences of from where you were to where you are right now? How does that affect you? How does it affect your health? How does that affect your personal, intimate relationships? How does that affect your family? A little broader out there. How does it affect your community? How does the way I've been affect the greater country? And then, how does it affect the world? I know many of us are really being supportive of America the Beautiful. Believe me, I am. In fact, when I went to seminary with Rabbi Gelman, and Rabbi Gelberman started the seminary down in Barrow Street. That's a historical part of Manhattan. That's where the workers of the Constitution hung out in New York. The framers. Very, very important to me. And that's why our freedoms and our liberty and this country is so important. But it's important that it extends out through around the world conceptually and uniquely in the different way that other people want to express it. We have one world, not just one country, one world. I am a child of immigrant parents. I am so blessed that they came here. And I appreciate the fact that I can appreciate this blessing. But I also know that the goodness of it should be extended around the world. Let's get back. So what do I have to do? I'm reflecting on myself. I'm reflecting on the things that I have done, who I've been. And why do we do this reflecting? Why do we do this reflecting? Because it's part of our spirituality. Spiritual, you look at the word spiritual. I don't have a board next to me. Spiritual has S-P-I-R-I-T, the spirits, right? Our spirit, that's our souls, that connection. But it also has the word ritual, R-I-T-U-A-L, right? A ritual. So spiritual ritual. So we have the spirit that we bring to it, but we also need to bring the body into it. And that's why when we come together to do the rituals, we bring our body. We come together so that our souls can be refreshed, they can be listened to, they can be heard, rather than just being caught up in the day-to-day. So our spirituality is bringing that combination together. And the reason why I'm bringing that up is to come back to Abraham's other children, right? Other children that have gone off, those 12 other children that he had. I do not know the name of his wife, God bless her, 12 children, who he had after Sarah had died. And they say that one of them, the Vedas, went off to the east. They were given gifts. They weren't given the same gifts of, all that he owned, his property, his tents, his all that thing, because that he got, right, to Ishmael, and that's what he did that, to give that to the Jewish people. But he gave them other gifts. What did he have left? His spirit, his esoteric knowledge. And that's how we find in the East, the esoteric knowledge is there. And look at that. That's bringing everything back to Abraham, bringing everything back to the one. Now, I'm not saying that everybody now is Jewish. We could all be Jewish. We could all be, we don't need, even in the Hindu tradition, millions of gods and goddesses. Brilliant, wonderful, powerful, rich tradition. But it comes back to the three. Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, right? And those three come back to one. Everything comes back to one. We are in this together. Body, mind, and soul. Let us bring our soul. When we call on the light of our soul, we come home. We come home. Home is where we need to be. So we need to cast off anything that is not home in our own beingness, in our own sense of who we are. We need to cast it off. My attachments, my resentments, my judgments, my being right, my knowing the right way. We toss them off. And we do our next T, which is Teshuvah. Teshuvah it means repent, but it also means to turn. And that's why in our blessing, in our coming back, when I called on the Shekinah to be with us, when I called on that holy name, I said I return, and I turned. Because when we bring in that energy, it turns us. But we have to bring in that energy after we've cast off. Clean house. Pray. Ask. Help me. I am willing. I will let go. I will let go of this. Instead of holding on to this resentment, instead of holding on to this fear, believe me, we have much to fear about in this world. But there is a line in A Course in Miracles that says, if this was your truth, if this was the only reality there was or there is, you should be afraid. But it's not. And that's what Rosh Hashanah is about, that we will come back to the beginning. In the beginning, there was light, there was God, there was this goodness. Come back to the beginning. Come back to what is real, what is there. But we need to be turned around as we cast off and let it go and say, I turn around. I turn. Teshuvah. When I return to the light of my soul, I come home. Come home to who you are as a spiritual, powerful child of that light, of that divinity. Come home to the light of who you are. Be in that. And from that place, now ask, what is the next right thing for me to do? Not for everybody in the world. Not the right thing that everybody needs to do, but what is the next right thing for me to do? And how do we know? How do we know what the next right thing is? Well, we have the golden rule. That's it. Have you done the other steps? If I've done the other steps, if I've prayed, right? If I cleaned house, if I turned myself around and allowed myself to come into a place of newness, The light of my soul is a plate of renewal, of newness. Well, then now I can do that fourth thing. And that is tashuda. Please forgive my pronunciations. But that is to do what is right. The next right thing. Well, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. That golden rule that is out there, right? Love the Lord your God with all your heart and all your soul, and love your neighbor as yourself. How do I know it's the right thing to do? Am I treating the next person, no matter who they are, human being, sentient, a human being, am I treating them the way I would like to be treated? What if I was in their shoes? How do we make manifest the greatest, highest possible spiritual persons in this world? How do we walk in true connection with that Shekinah? How do we be true lights, soul light bringers into the world? How do we defeat darkness? By being more of our light. That's the call. That's the call, to do the process, to do the work, to do the inner reflection. Make a list. Who do I still have resentments against? What part do I play in it? Because I think there's a different way of doing it. Remember, absolutely nothing happens in God's world by mistake. I don't know why some things happen. Believe me, I have my own opinions about things. But that's what it is, my own opinion. There is a higher, always a higher authority. Never forget that higher authority. And give your allegiance to it. Turn back to it. Turn back to it. When something on the outside is grabbing your attention, think of it like some kind of a tube or a hose that is literally sucking the life out of you. But you're giving it. It's not taking it from you. You're giving it because you've given your attention to it. Cast off all of those hoses, those tubes, and return. Teshuvah. Return to God. Return to light. Return to the power that we are. And do what is right. Do what is kind. Ask yourself before you do anything this day, is this kind? Is this loving? Is this for the benefit of all? Or do I have a certain few that I'm focusing on and only caring about? That's not what a parent does. That wasn't the message in the story of the prodigal son in the Christian tradition, which I like to call it the loving father. That no matter what, spiritually, lovingly, the Father embraced us all. So let us go back this Rosh Hashanah. Let us go back to truly the beginning. In the beginning, there was light. What do you need to be the light that is needed in the world today? What do you need to do? Remember, we do it here. We do it in that connection. So let us do that call to prayer again with each other as we rededicate ourselves to the work that's ahead. Keeping prayer deep and meaningful, of casting off all that does not serve us or anyone else. and turning back to the one, so we can do what is right and what is good. Baruch, dear one, Shekinah, holy name, when I call on the light of my soul, I come home. Baruch, dear one, Shekinah, holy name, when I call on the light of my soul, I come home. It is my prayer for you that this Rosh Hashanah, that you might be written in the book of life, which means you will understand that all your actions affect all of life. And you will be more diligent about every move you make, that we all come back to the one in love and peace and blessings. And so it is. We love you all. We thank you here at Gathering of Light. We continue to work for you, to work for the oneness, to work for peace. It is the International Day of Peace tomorrow at the UN. We call on that peace to be with us, to be here for all of us. Those of us at Gathering of Light, we always say peace words, and they are aloha, om shanti, shalom, salam, peace, pax, sat sri akal, jai janandra, blessed be, haping, amahoro, akwene, namaste, pace, ashe, aho. Aho atakuyasin, because we do this all for further generations, because everything we do affects all these other generations. We thank you so much, and please help us continue to do our work. We have a donate button that's right there on your screen. If you can help us by donating a little bit, every little bit helps. I know everybody's asking you to donate these days, but really, sincerely, we are a nice small group, and we really love that. So anything you could do to help, we'd really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Bless you all. The fall is coming. Deepening, deepening, deepening during this time. Love you all. Lashana Tova. Happy New Year.